Walk into your grandmother's kitchen in 1962 and you would find a room that probably measured 10 by 12 feet. One short counter, a handful of cabinets, a refrigerator about 2/3 the size of what sits in your kitchen right now. And yet somehow, every drawer closed, every shelf made sense, and you could find the flour with your eyes shut. She did not own a label maker. She did not buy matching bins from a home goods store. She did not spend a single dollar organizing that kitchen, because the organization was built into how she used it, not what she bought for it. These are 30 of those forgotten tricks, and not one of them costs a cent. Number 30, the empty counter rule. Your grandmother treated the kitchen counter the way a carpenter treats a workbench. It was a surface for doing things, not a shelf for storing things. The toaster came out when someone wanted toast and went back into the cabinet when the toast was done. The mixer appeared on baking day and disappeared the same afternoon. The coffee percolator might have earned a permanent spot, but only because it ran twice a day, every single day. Everything else lived behind a cabinet door. The result was a counter you could wipe clean in 30 seconds, and a kitchen that always looked ready because the workspace was always open. Modern kitchens park a stand mixer, a knife block, a fruit bowl, a spice rack, and a decorative olive oil bottle on the counter permanently, and then wonder why there is no room to chop an onion. Grandma would have solved that problem in 4 minutes by opening the cabinets and putting things inside them. Number 29, the front and center rule for daily dishes. Open most kitchen cabinets today, and the glasses you use every morning are behind the glasses you use at Thanksgiving. The everyday plates are stacked under the fancy plates nobody touches from January to November. Grandma kept the items she reached for daily at the front of the shelf, at eye level, within arm's reach. The holiday china lived on the top shelf or in the dining room hutch where it belonged. She did not reorganize the whole cabinet. She just made sure the first thing her hand touched was the thing she actually needed. That one habit eliminated the daily ritual of moving 3 things to reach the 4th. Number 28, nesting everything that nests. Mixing bowls sat inside each other. Measuring cups hung on a single ring. Pots stacked with the smallest inside the largest, and a folded dish towel between them to prevent scratching. Grandma treated cabinet space the way a suitcase packer treats a carry-on. Every cubic inch had a job. If 2 items could share the same footprint by sitting one inside the other, that is exactly what they did. This was not clever organizing, it was arithmetic. A set of 4 mixing bowls that nests takes the shelf space of 1 bowl. The same 4 bowls stored side by side take the space of 4. The math is that simple and that powerful. Number 27, 1 in, 1 out. She never called it a rule. She probably never thought about it consciously. But when a new pot came into the kitchen, the old one left. New dish towels meant the fraying ones became cleaning rags. There was no accumulation because there was no room for accumulation, and nobody pretended there would be. Modern kitchens have twice the cabinet space and somehow twice the clutter because extra room did not create more order. It created more permission to keep things. Number 26, the designated landing spot. Every kitchen had one small area, usually at the end of the counter nearest the door, where the mail, the keys, and the day's small arrivals landed. One spot, not the entire counter, not the kitchen table, not 3 different chairs. One defined zone that was cleared every evening. The trick was not preventing things from landing in the kitchen. It was giving them a single address so the mess had a boundary. Number 25, the door hook system. The inside of almost every cabinet door in a well-run 1950s kitchen had a hook or a small rack screwed into it. The measuring cups hung on the inside of the baking cabinet door. The pot holders hung inside the door nearest the stove. The apron hung on the pantry door. This was vertical storage that cost nothing and used space that otherwise sat completely empty. The back of a cabinet door is dead real estate in most modern kitchens. Grandma put it to work. Number 24. The dish towel bar as the only drying system. There was no plastic drying rack sprawling across the counter, collecting mildew. Dishes were washed, dried immediately with a cotton towel, and put away. The towel hung on the oven handle between uses. When the towel got damp, it was wrung out and rehung. When it was soaked through at the end of the day, it went into the laundry and a fresh one took its place. The counter never became a permanent dish parking lot because dishes were never allowed to just sit there. Number 23. The scrap bowl while cooking. Instead of walking to the trash can 14 times while preparing a meal, Grandma set a large bowl on the counter next to the cutting board. Onion skins, carrot peels, potato eyes, and eggshells all went into the bowl. When cooking was done, the bowl was emptied once, rinsed, and put away. One trip instead of 14. The counter stayed clear, the floor stayed clean, and the rhythm of cooking was never interrupted by walking back and forth across the room. Number 22. The tin canister set. Flour, sugar, coffee, and tea each lived in a matching tin canister lined up on the counter or the shelf. No bags slumping open. No clips failing and spilling rice across the cabinet floor. The canisters were uniform in shape, clearly labeled and sealed tight. They stacked predictably, looked clean, and told you at a glance how much of everything you had left. This one trick alone eliminated half the chaos in the average pantry. Number 21. Glass jars for everything dry. Beans, rice, oats, pasta, and cereals were poured out of their original packaging and into glass jars with screw-top lids the moment the groceries were put away. The jars lined up like books on a shelf. Every jar was visible. Every quantity was obvious, and nothing was hiding behind a collapsed bag of lentils that fell over 6 weeks ago. Uniform containers eliminate the dead space that mismatched packaging creates. A shelf of matching jars holds more food than the same shelf piled with cardboard boxes and plastic bags, and it looks like a kitchen that knows what it is doing. Number 20. The rotating shelf trick. Before Lazy Susans became a retail product, grandmothers placed items in the back of deep cabinets on a small elevated platform, sometimes just an overturned baking dish or a sturdy box lid. The items in the back sat higher than the items in the front, so everything was visible at once. Nothing got buried. Nothing expired in the darkness behind the canned tomatoes. The trick was elevation, not equipment. Number 19. Masking tape labels on everything. A strip of masking tape and a pencil. That was the entire labeling system. Every jar, every container, every tin got a small strip of tape with a word written on it. No label maker, no chalkboard stickers, no decorative vinyl. Just tape that peeled off clean when the contents changed and cost essentially nothing. It worked perfectly, and it worked for decades. Number 18. The daily refrigerator scan. Every morning before breakfast or every evening before bed, Grandma opened the refrigerator and moved whatever needed to be used soon to the front of the top shelf. Leftovers from last night were moved forward. The last 2 eggs went to the front of the rack. The celery that was starting to soften went to the front because it was going into soup that day. The refrigerator stayed organized not because it was cleaned out every week in some grand project, but because one 60-second scan every day kept everything rotating. Number 17. The leftover plan. Nothing sat in the refrigerator without a purpose. Sunday's roast became Monday's sandwiches. Stale bread became breadcrumbs or bread pudding. Vegetable trimmings from Tuesday went into Wednesday's stock pot. Every container that went into the refrigerator already had a meal attached to it, which meant the refrigerator never accumulated mystery containers slowly expiring behind the milk. Number 16. The shelf paper system. Grandma lined every shelf with paper, sometimes wax paper, sometimes old newsprint, sometimes proper shelf liner. When the shelf got sticky or stained, she did not scrub the shelf. She pulled the paper off, wiped the surface once, and laid fresh paper down. Cleanup took 2 minutes instead of 20. The shelf underneath stayed protected for years, and the kitchen always smelled faintly of fresh linen because the paper was changed with the seasons. If these old tricks are striking a chord, take a second and subscribe. This channel digs into the quiet domestic wisdom that earlier generations practiced every day and that somehow never got passed down. There is plenty more ahead. Number 15. The upside-down glass trick. Clean glasses were stored upside down on the shelf so dust could not settle inside them. It sounds absurdly simple, and it is. But walk through most modern kitchens and the glasses are standing right side up, collecting dust and requiring a rinse before every use. Grandma stored them once, and they stayed ready. Number 14. Hanging tools on the wall. Pegboards behind the stove, hooks on the inside of the cabinet doors. Magnetic strips hold knives beside the cutting board. Ladles and slotted spoons hang from small brass hooks on the wall between the counter and the upper cabinets. When a kitchen only has 4 drawers, the walls have to work. The genius of wall storage is that every tool is visible and instantly accessible. No digging through a tangled drawer for the vegetable peeler. No unstacking 6 pots to reach the one at the bottom. Everything was at eye level, ready to grab. Number 13. The narrow space trick. The gap between the refrigerator and the wall, the sliver between the stove and the cabinet. Grandma slid a thin cutting board, a cookie sheet, or a folded stack of paper bags into every one of those gaps. Space that modern kitchens leave completely empty became storage for flat items that had no home anywhere else. She saw inches where we see nothing. Number 12. The single junk drawer. Every home had one junk drawer, one. It had an unspoken rule. If the drawer could not close, something had to leave before anything new went in. Everything else in the kitchen had a permanent address. Scissors lived in the second drawer. The can opener hung on a hook inside the cabinet door. Matches sat in the tin above the stove. 1 junk drawer is a system. 5 junk drawers is surrender. Number 11. The tension rod under the sink. A spring-loaded curtain rod wedged inside the cabinet under the sink created an instant hanging rack for spray bottles and cleaning rags. The bottles hung by their triggers over the rod, and the floor of the cabinet stayed open for the bucket and the extra soap. No shelf insert, no purchased organizer, just a rod that cost nothing because it came from a closet that no longer needed curtains. Number 10. The rubber band on the handle trick. Wrapping a thick rubber band around the neck of a glass jar that would not open gave instant grip. Grandma also used rubber bands wrapped around drawer knobs to keep cabinet doors from swinging open, around stacked cutting boards to keep them from sliding, and around bundles of wooden spoons to keep them upright in a crock. 1 rubber band did the organizing work of 3 different gadgets. Number 9. The towel in the drawer trick. A folded dish towel laid at the bottom of the utensil drawer kept everything from sliding and rattling every time the drawer opened. It cushioned the knives, silenced the metal spoons, and could be pulled out and washed when it got dirty. Modern drawer organizers do the same job for $12. The towel did it for free, and it had been doing it since the Roosevelt administration. Number 8. The bread box as counter control. The bread box was never really about bread. It was a container that held whatever needed to live on the counter without looking like clutter. Bread, yes, but also rolls, muffins, crackers, and sometimes the small odds and ends that would otherwise spread across the counter in a slow tide. The bread box gave those items a boundary and a lid. When it was closed, the counter looked clear. Number 7. The weekly menu pinned to the refrigerator. Monday was meatloaf, Tuesday was chicken, Wednesday was soup. The menu lived on a simple index card held to the refrigerator door with a magnet. When you know what you are cooking every night, your grocery list writes itself. Your pantry only holds what you actually need, and there is no standing in front of an open refrigerator at 5:30 wondering what to make. A rotating menu kept the pantry lean and the shopping focused. It was the most powerful organizing trick in the kitchen, and it had nothing to do with shelves. Number 6, the shopping list that never left the kitchen. A pencil and a small pad of paper lived on the counter or hung from a string near the refrigerator. When the flour tin felt light, flour went on the list. When the last egg was cracked, eggs went on the list. The list was always current because it was built in real time over the course of the week. At the store, you bought what was on the list and nothing else. Every dollar was already assigned to a meal. The result was a pantry that only held what the family actually ate, and shelves that never overflowed with impulse buys. Number 5. The 15-minute rule after groceries. When Grandma came home from the store, the bags did not sit on the counter for 2 hours. Every item went directly from the bag to the shelf, to the refrigerator, or to a jar. The bags were folded flat and tucked into the gap beside the refrigerator. The counter was bare again within 15 minutes. One set of unpacked grocery bags left on the counter. Claims the workspace, pushes other items to the table, pushes the mail to the chair, and within an hour, one bag has created clutter in 3 rooms. The 15-minute habit cut the chain before it started. Number 4, the nightly wipe-down ritual. Every evening after the dishes were done, the counters were wiped clean. The stovetop was wiped clean. The table was cleared of everything except the salt shaker and the napkin holder, and the dish towel was rinsed and hung to dry. The kitchen that greeted you at 6 in the morning was calm and ready for coffee, because someone had put it to rest the night before. This took 3 minutes, and it changed the entire emotional temperature of the house the following morning. Number 3, the family reset after dinner. Dinner ended when the kitchen was restored, not when the last fork was set down. One person cleared the table. One person washed. One person dried. Someone swept the floor. The entire family participated because keeping the kitchen clean was a shared responsibility embedded into the evening. In 20 minutes, the room looked exactly as it had before cooking began. Number 2, the seasonal purge. Twice a year, usually in spring and again before the holidays, every shelf was emptied, every drawer was pulled out, and the surfaces were scrubbed clean. Then, one item at a time, things were put back, only the things that had earned their place. The chipped mug went to the donation box. The bent whisk was discarded. The plastic containers with missing lids were matched, and the orphans were thrown away. The seasonal purge was the fail-safe. Even if small bits of clutter crept in over 6 months, the purge caught them, and the kitchen came back to baseline. Number 1, the trick that held every other trick together. Grandma simply refused to believe that organizing required buying something. She never walked into a store looking for a solution to kitchen clutter because she did not think clutter was a shopping problem. It was a habit problem. The counter stayed clear because she cleared it. The drawers stayed organized because she organized them. The pantry made sense because she maintained it every single day. Not once in a dramatic weekend overhaul, but in the small, ordinary moments between breakfast and bed. She did not need 30 matching bins. She needed 30 seconds every morning and the quiet discipline to do it again the next day and the day after that. Looking back at all 30 of these tricks, a pattern comes into focus. None of them required a trip to the store. None of them required a weekend project, a custom cabinet, or a home renovation. They were small acts of intention repeated so consistently that they disappeared into the rhythm of daily life. The women who practiced them never would have called themselves organized. To them, this was just how a kitchen worked. You cooked in it, you cleaned it, you put things where they belonged, and when the morning came, it was ready again. Maybe the cluttered modern kitchen is not a storage problem at all. Maybe it is a rhythm problem. We stopped doing the small things every day, and the mess quietly filled in behind us. The good news is that rhythms can be rebuilt. Not by buying a label maker and 50 matching containers, but by doing one small thing tonight and doing it again tomorrow, the way it was always done. The way the women before us made it look so effortless that we forgot it was a skill at all. If this video reminded you of someone who kept a kitchen like this, there is a video on screen right now about the everyday habits from that era that quietly disappeared without anyone noticing. You might recognize more than you expect.